gas. It's going to lead to an average about 12% increase in electricity prices and 1.4 million jobs lost, net jobs lost by 2020. Some economic plan, huh? For those who doubt economic analysis, all you really have to do is read the papers. A Reuters news story last week reported that over 50, that's right, 50 coal-fired power plants are going to be closing throughout the country. Now, what's the impact? Well, there's immediate job loss when you cut facilities, and some have already been announced. Here's another part, and recently described in the Wall Street Journal. The total amount of electricity removed from the power grid is something like 80 gigawatts. That translates to about 8% of our electricity supply removed. What happens when you remove supply? Prices will certainly go up. And in fact, another recent news story, the title was, "Electric Bills About to Spike." Why? Because utilities have to deal with upgrades for their transmission lines to deal with renewable energy and for the increased compliance costs to meet with these EPA rules. This is not imaginary, this is real. One example, Duke Energy for South Carolina consumers said they're requesting a 17% increase for their electricity rates. 17%. Why? Because of the EPA. So patriots, what can be done? How can we stop this crony capitalism? What can we do? Well, the House of Representatives recently passed a bill called the TRAIN Act. And what the TRAIN Act does, it will set up an federal interagency committee that will make the EPA do a meaningful cost-benefit analysis of the impact of their rules. We know Obama likes to regulate and then figure out what happens later. We heard this with healthcare with Nancy Pelosi, remember? We'll just pass the bill, then you have to see what's going to be in it. Well, right now we're doing the same thing with energy. Let's remove 8% of our power from the grid and see if we have enough electricity for our citizens. No, that's not an economic policy. That's economic disaster. And what we need to do is stop this. This new legislation will require the EPA's cost-benefit analysis and to do an analysis on the impact of EPA regulations on jobs, on international competitiveness, on energy prices, on the reliability of our power grid, and it also delays two of the most potent rules that are driving energy prices higher, the cross-state rule and the utility MACT rule. Again, why is all this happening? Well, when you really peel it and look at it, you find crony capitalism is at the root of Obama's war on fossil fuels. It's really a payback for his crony capitalist pals. Obama's failed $787 billion stimulus plan had $90 billion going to clean energy. And as we know from reading the headlines, $500 million of that went to one of his pals who fundraised for a fundraising pal of his, who had a big stake in Solyndra. So this is what's going on. Another few of the characters who are really undermining all our liberties. General Electric CEO Jeff Immelt is head of Obama's jobs panel. GE bet big on clean energy because it sells wind turbines and solar panels. GE got $126 million out of the stimulus plan. Here's one for you probably never heard of. There's a fellow named, he's a billionaire venture capitalist. His name is John Doerr. He's also on Obama's jobs panel. Hundreds of millions of your dollars went to one of the companies that he's invested in. Anybody want to guess who his venture capital business partner is? Al Gore. Okay? So let me really describe what's going on. This really amounts to a wealth transfer. Okay? This is money going from your pockets, being transferred to government, and being transferred to his crony capitalist pals. Does a billionaire venture capitalist need more money from you? No. Venture capital is about risk, not about using taxpayers' money. And you pay multiple times. Your tax dollars are going to go bailing out these bad investments. You're going to be suffering from higher energy prices because of Obama's war on fossil fuels, and we're all going to be saddled with slower economic growth and fewer job opportunities. It's a lose, lose, lose. It's crony capitalism for those people on Wall Street today, not capitalism that's the problem. So here's our action plan. The Train Act must become the law of our land. As I mentioned, it controls an EPA, it reins in its radical efforts, and it's passed the House of Representatives. The next step is in the Senate. Now, it may be unlikely that Harry Reid puts this up as a separate bill, but if you let your representatives know and reach out to Democrats, especially Senate Democrats, and let them know you're tired of crony capitalism, there's a possibility this type of legislation and language could appear in a budget resolution that Obama has to sign. So you need to keep the pressure on the legislators that the Train Act must pass. We also need to break Obama's big business alliance. We need to break crony capitalism. And we really can do this, and the answer again is you, the consumer. Because every day you go out and buy products. Now, do you want to spend your hard-earned dollars with a company that's undermining your values and trying to drive Indiana bankrupt by this radical energy policy? I don't think so. So we need to let CEOs know there's going to be a price to pay if they try to loot our liberty for their selfish gains. And they will change when they do hear from you. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm asking you to go to a website called bigbusinesswatch.org. bigbusinesswatch.org. We have a list of the companies that have been lobbying for Obama's failed energy policy. On this site, you will have emails and phone numbers. I urge you, reach out to some of these companies. Maybe this Tea Party group can pick one company and send a bunch of emails and letters. Once they hear from you, they will stop. We also have a petition on our website for Jeff Immelt to resign, the General Electric CEO. Now, why would we want Immelt to resign? Well, from a financial perspective, he took over in 2001. His stock price is 61% lower than when he took over. Now, I don't know a major college football team or any university that would allow a losing record for 3 years, let alone 10 years. And yet he's still there. He lobbied for millions of dollars in stimulus money and then got some. He's lobbying for a renewable energy standard that's going to force us to buy his solar panels and wind turbines. He lobbied for cap and trade. He lobbied for the ban on the incandescent light bulb. He was selling infrastructure equipment to Iran while boys and girls were fighting in Iraq. And then he defended it. He needs to go. And he's also transferring jobs overseas while he's on Obama's jobs panel. This is nothing more than madness. But we can challenge this madness with all of your help. So he needs to go. So before I end my talk, I just have a few questions for you. Are you going to let crony capitalism loot you of your liberty and your money? No. Can't hear you. No. There you go. Are you going to transfer your hard-earned dollars to billionaires like Solindra's Kaiser and John Doerr? Are you going to let that happen? No. Do you want to bail out General Electric's bad bet on renewable energy? No. Are you ready to take action? Yeah. Great. Well, then working together, we can stop Obama and punish his crony capitalist allies. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America.